Let's do 10 Swedish words, the monarchs of the House of Vasa.
My name is not Sven, it is Martin, ja.
Gustav Vasa was king between 1523 and 1560 after have led the rebellion against the Danish Kristian II, also known as Kristian Tyrann, who had invaded Sweden in 1520 by order of Pope Leo X. Gustav was appointed king by the government in Strängnäs on June 6, 1523, which is why Sweden celebrates its national day on that date. He also broke ties with the Pope and could thereby strengthen the country both financially and politically, even though the Reformation didn't go as smooth as he had hoped. Gustav Vasa had 11 children with 2 women, and we'll hear of several, starting with his successor, his firstborn child, Erik. Erik XIV was king between 1560 and 1568, but his decisions on conquering caused feuds with his brother Johan. Issues of mental deterioration and reckless behavior, such as the massacre of noblemen in Uppsala, made the government decide to take his crown and imprison him for several years until his death. A death which occurred through poisoned soup by order of 2 men from the Council of the Realm. The most active in overtaking the throne was Johan III, the second son of Gustav Vasa and Erik's half-brother. He ruled between 1568 and 1592, but had already gotten into trouble when he had married the daughter of the Polish king, who the then King Erik was almost at war with. Even though Johan eventually became king, he could never be sure as long as the imprisoned brother was alive. He thereby ordered that any attempt to free Erik, he should be killed. Johan had 8 children with 3 women. His first, Elisabeth, didn't reach the age of 2. His second child, Sigismund, became the next monarch. As the grandson of Gustav Vasa, he had a big kingdom. Not only was he king of Sweden between 1592 and 1599, Sigismund III Vasa was also king of Poland-Lithuania between 1597 and 1632. This was a tricky balance, most notably by the acts of sabotage from his uncle Karl, the youngest of Gustav Vasa's children, which led to war and subsequently the loss of his Swedish rule. He continued to rule in Poland and made Warsaw the capital. Karl IX, the youngest of Gustav Vasa's sons, took the very high number 11 despite there only being 2 previous Karls. He was riksföreståndare between 1599 and 1604, a title which in a republic could be called acting president, and then king from 1604 to 1611. Under his reign he saw war with his nephew Sigismund, which he lost, and also war with Russia and Denmark. He had 11 children with 3 women. Out of the 6, Maria of Sals, only 1 lived beyond the age of 5. His 7th child, Gustav, was to be the heir to the throne. Gustav II Adolf was king between 1611 and 1632 and has become famous as the father of modern warfare, as he made the country into one of the biggest and most powerful during the period. He became king at the age 16, and together with Chancellor Axel Oxenstierna he reshaped the government, made peace with Denmark and defeated Russia and Poland. He took Sweden into the 30 Years' War on the Protestant side against the Catholic German Roman Emperor. He defeated the army of Breitenfeld and won provinces in Germany and was on his way to overtake the imperial throne, but was killed at the Battle of Lutzen on November 6, 1632. He had 4 children with Maria Eleonora, 2 dead at birth, 1 dead after a year, and then Kristina. He also had a child out of wedlock. Kristina's father, Gustav II Adolf, had her recognized as his heir in case he wouldn't have a son, because the Polish part of the Vasa family would otherwise try to claim the throne. When she was free, she was separated from her father and Chancellor Axel Oxenstierna took her on. 3 years later, the king died and Christina became queen. When reaching adulthood, there was mounting pressure for her to marry and secure the bloodline. She and her cousin Carl Gustav had feelings for each other, but she didn't want to marry with the risk of losing her independence. She did ask for the council to appoint Karl as her successor, but without marriage. This happened during her coronation in 1650. Christina had, however, never wanted to be an Orthodox Lutheran. It was in the company of people like Pierre Chenu and René Descartes that she was drawn to Catholicism. She decided to abdicate the throne, and on June 6, 1654, her cousin Karl X Gustav became king and Christina traveled to Hamburg, Antwerpen and Rome. A friend of hers, Cardinal Fabio Chichi, became Pope Alexander VII, and through pressure from the Spanish king, Christina converted. The remaining years of her life, she purposely stayed out of political matters and became a dominating figure in the cultural life in Rome. She passed away on the morning of April 9, 1689, and she had wished for a simple funeral. This, however, was not the case. Her funeral on April 23rd was a grand one, and she became the first woman to be buried in St. Peter's Basilica. Have a look in the description for more coming videos about the Swedish monarchs, and thank you so much for watching.